dare I say, we're going for the three-peat. There isn't going to be one call that changes a 20 lead uh, obliteration, right? Like they obliterated that 20-point lead Denver did. But that's one of the best rings I have seen been won. What's going on, everyone? You were listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Chauran, and we are back and better than ever. I mean, it's been, about 2 months or so? I think my last upload was on February 10th, and that was my preview of of the Super Bowl, of what I thought was going to be the outcome. And lo and behold, I was correct. Now, was the score spot on? I mean, I said it was going to be a close game. I didn't think it would be 25-22, nor did I think we would be getting into an overtime game with the Niners as well. But you know what? Things happen. It's the NFL. And as you can see, I got my hat like I said I would in the next episode that I would do after my Super Bowl preview. So, yeah, promises were kept in that regard. But no, I'm glad to be back, though. I wanted to take just a little break after the gauntlet that we had in the NFL season. And so it was good to take a little bit of a break. But there have been some developments. I actually, just today, as I'm recording this, April 23rd, I uploaded and started my own website. It's the Antonio Charan Sports blog. And, just to give you all a little bit of a synopsis of that, right? I just wanted to start a blog. I want to start writing sports pieces. Work on my writing when it comes to writing about games or just doing overall sports stories. I want to do a couple blogs. Um, One about what is a dynasty and are the Chiefs a dynasty. I wanted to talk about the NBA bubble back in 2020 when the Lakers won the championship that year. So many people like to debunk that championship, saying it's a Mickey Mouse ring, a bubble ring, whatever the case may be. But I have always held the opinion that that was probably, if not one of, the hardest ring to win. Just for the simple fact that they won it in a pandemic where they were completely isolated from the outside world, essentially, if you think about it. Mentally, it was tough. I mean, guys like Paul George opened up about it and how it really took a toll on his mental health. The mentality of a player is something that we all talk about, right? When it comes to the greats, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, guys like that, right? And then even LeBron James. These are guys. You know what? No shade to LeBron, but I think when you think of like that killer mentality, when you think of just like going for the throat, I think of an MJ. I think of a Kobe. Again, no disrespect to LeBron, um, but I think when you think of just a killer instinct, goes for the dagger, wants to step on your throat and not let up. You think of Mike. You think of Kobe, and we idolize those mentalities. When it came to the bubble, it took the mentality of an entire team to just will their way to a championship in a situation that was unprecedented, in a situation that had never been seen before nor experienced. Definitely not in the modern era, in this century, right? So I've always thought of that championship as a championship that was undervalued, that was really shot down in terms of credibility of what the actual ring was and what the championship was and blah blah blah. So, anyways, things like that, things that are always up for interpretation, always controversial. Everyone has an opinion that spans in one way or another about any topic, and so those are the types of things I want to write. I just published my first blog today, funny enough, about the Lakers lost to Denver in Game 2 in this NBA playoffs. Yeah, I watched it. I'll get to it later, probably towards the end of this episode, just because, I want to talk about the Chiefs. I haven't talked about them in 2 months, at least on my podcast here over the digital airwaves of YouTube or wherever you see this podcast. Um, I mean, yeah, it would be YouTube. You wouldn't see it anywhere else. Um, but yeah, I mean, we won the championship. We won the Super Bowl, so that's pretty dope. But I don't want to necessarily give my opinion on what I thought of the game and like break it down and stuff like that. A bunch of people have done that already. I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is that, damn, that was one of, again, I'm not coming at this from an obnoxious Chiefs fan or anything like that. But that's one of the best rings I have seen been won by a football team. I mean, if you think about it, from our wide receiving core, that was arguably, I mean, bottom 10, but I don't want to say bottom 5. That's a little extreme, but definitely bottom 10. I'd like to think. Look, no hate, no shade to the guys in the wide receiver or in the wide receiver room, but I mean, our main guy was Rashee Rice, and I'll get to him because he's been getting into dumb stuff lately, and he's freaking lucky with how some stuff has fallen his way. Anyways, I'll get to that. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Richie James. I mean, those are guys that are third or fourth stringers, you know? And that was definitely the weak point of our team. But if you just look at all of the teams that we went through to get to where we got, I mean, towards the end of the season, we had that I remember that, a horrible loss to the Raiders on Christmas Day that I was at in person. We freaking lost that game. I mean, it was games like that where everyone was questioning the Chiefs and all that stuff. And oh man, it's the drop balls are coming back to haunt them. And Kelsey isn't the same. He's distracted, dating Taylor Swift, doing SNL, blah, blah, blah. New Heights, is that distracting him? His podcast and, all of the off the field stuff with Mahomes' family. Mahomes is perfect. Like, from you know, when you look at your franchise quarterback, you want him to be like Mahomes off the field. But his brother does dumb stuff. His dad isn't perfect either. Just things like that. A lot of distractions. Then we go into the playoffs. We beat Miami. I knew we were going to beat Miami. Like I said, I looked at it like when the Bills beat the Steelers. That was supposed to happen, right? Like no one was really expecting the Steelers or the Dolphins to win that game. We go to Buffalo. We beat Buffalo. Oh, and the whole narrative. Mahomes is playing on the road. And how is that going to be? He's never played a road game in his playoff career. We go to Buffalo. We win that game. Then we go to Baltimore, a consensus team to win it all. Look, I've said it too. I mean, that was a tough game, and whoever came out of that game, whether if it was KC or Baltimore, they were going to win the Super Bowl. We go into Baltimore and we win. And then we're back in the Super Bowl against the Niners. Again, everyone was saying Niners Ravens Super Bowl because the Super Bowl logo had the colors of the Niners and Ravens. And now that was the whole thing. How for the past 4 or 5 Super Bowls, whatever colors were in the Super Bowl logo were going to be the teams that represented the AFC and NFC in the Super Bowl. Obviously, we debunked that. So, I think anyone who has followed the Chiefs season, whether if you follow them closely or just kind of a casual fan, you knew this was a type of season for the Chiefs that hasn't been a typical season for the Chiefs over this run. And me being the Chiefs fan that I am, it's been a roller coaster. There were games that we lost that we should have won. Um, and there were boneheaded plays that were made, whether it was by Andy Reid on a goal line situation or 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or 4th and 2. And we do some BS in the backfield instead of pounding the rock right up the middle. You've heard it all from me throughout the season. And at the end of the day, we still won the Super Bowl. So this is up to this point. I think the best ring that this team has won in this run so far. Well, without a doubt. I mean, look, the first run, we were down at one point 24-0 against the Texans and KC. Are you kidding me? Like, what team is coming back from that? The Chiefs, apparently. Ended up winning that game 51-31. That's the main highlight I take away from that particular run. And then obviously being down in the Super Bowl against the Niners the first time by 10 going into the fourth quarter, and then we end up winning 31-20. So and then the run after that, when we won our second Super Bowl, I think of just that was when he rolled his ankle. His ankle was really bothering him, and I remember a lot of conversation about that. And then beating the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, man, that felt so good. I love that, and getting that revenge after losing the year prior, again in Arrowhead. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different points in the playoffs or even in the season to look at and be like, yeah, that if that didn't happen, we don't win the Super Bowl and blah blah blah. But I think it's safe to say, from a holistic standpoint, when you look at the personnel we had, some off the field stuff, just general narratives, and even the teams. I mean, Baltimore was stacked. Buffalo looked good. I mean, they were on a heater. They had won 5 straight games to finish off the season. Now, granted, they had to, or else they were going to miss the playoffs. But yeah, and obviously with Miami and the potent offense that they had, Tyreek Hill coming back to Arrowhead for the first time since he was traded. Because of him, by the way, let's not forget that. Yeah, I'm so happy. I am, and dare I say, we're going for the three-peat. We're going for the three-peat, bro. I mean, I don't see how you can go against the Chiefs. After the season they had, all the doubters, Buffalo's going to win. Ravens are going to win. Niners are going to win. You know what? I don't care. Like you can't be like, oh, well, they lost this game in week 6 or week 11. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when it gets to the playoffs, BS games that we should have won in the regular season, that's said and done. It's happened. It's in the past. Doesn't affect where we're at now. We're winning this game. Do or die game. Only one game to decide to keep going or go home. And seeing how this team has been, they're battle tested. They got the experience, they got the players, they got the coaches, organization. Actually, just today I saw, speaking of that, Andy Reid, Brett Veach, and Mark Donovan all got extensions. Chiefs president Mark Donovan, I met him, got a picture with him. GM Brett Veach, and obviously Andy Reid as our head coach, all got contract extensions. So we're going to keep this going, baby. I mean, I'm excited. I'm fired up. I think this is going to be a great 2024-2025 season. Because here's the thing. It's one thing to be hungry to win a Super Bowl if you've never won one. It's another thing to win Super Bowls, to want to win Super Bowls that you've won already, but you're at a point in your career where you're chasing legacy, where you're chasing GOAT status, a pinnacle that will be cemented in NFL history forever. No team has ever three-peated. Mahomes, he's chasing Brady. He's got 3 rings right now. And he's only been in the NFL for what? 6 full seasons as a starter. He's already got 3 rings. Never made it less in the playoffs than the AFC Championship game. Are you kidding me? That just doesn't happen. So we're off to a great start. I think from a coaching standpoint, Andy Reid wants to, chase Belichick. We'll see if he catches him. I mean, when it comes to playoff wins, regular season wins, and Super Bowls, I mean, he's chasing all those. He wants to get all of them. You can't tell me he doesn't. Of course he does. So yeah, I think that's kind of a mentality that the Chiefs have right now that no one else in the league can say that they have. Genuinely, they can't. And I think that's what makes the Chiefs so unique right now, but it also makes them have the baddest target on their back. It really does, because everyone's going to want a piece. Everyone. Now, the issue that comes with success, like the Chiefs have had, we can't pay everyone. And that sucks. That really does suck. We lost to Jerry Sneed. I was hoping we'd be able to keep him, but once I saw Chris Jones get that fat contract, which, by the way, 158.75 million, 101 million guaranteed over 5 years. I mean, he's retiring a Chief, no doubt. I'm so happy we gave him that money. He deserved it. And he became the highest paid defensive tackle in the league per year. He's getting paid $31.75 million a year, which at the time, Aaron Donald had the largest contract, getting $31.6 million a year. Now he's obviously retired at this point. Legend, hell of a career. But Chris Jones has now taken that title of being the highest paid D tackle, and you know what? Best defensive tackle in the entire freaking league. I mean, let's be honest. That's why he got this contract. That's why he has the legacy that he has. 3-time Super Bowl champion. And I'm waiting for him to get Defensive Player of the Year. That's what I'm waiting on. I mean, the guy is a beast. He has made plays that have single-handedly won us games and have gotten us to the Super Bowl, or even won us Super Bowls. I mean, that play on 3rd down against Brock Purdy in overtime, where number 15, the name is slipping me, but he got away. He was going to be open. That was going to be a touchdown. And Chris Jones was able to get pressure. Brock Purdy forced him to get a field goal. The next thing you know, we go down, win the game 25-22. Again, keep the guys that we need to keep. I'm happy about that. We also re-signed Drew Tranquill, which I'm super happy about. But I also knew with that coming that Willie Gay was probably gone, which sucked. But he signed a 1-year deal with the Saints for $5 million. Or we don't have the room for Willie Gay for $5 million for 1 year. I don't know. That kind of sucked. But he is reunited, or actually, I don't know if he was with the team at the time that Honey Badger was with us. Tyrann Mathieu, I think he was. Maybe they overlapped for like a season or two. But in New Orleans, they're now teammates. But you know, Drew Tranquill, I'm really happy we kept them. A 3-year, $19 million contract, or $12.5 million guaranteed. Yeah, I mean, the guy's a dog. He really is. That was such a steal from the Chargers from LA when we got him, and I was super happy when we signed him, and obviously when we decided to keep him for 3 more years. So very happy about that. Just some other key guys that we lost to. Tommy Townsend. I mean, hell of a punter, right? I mean, you think of guys who are punters, maybe you don't see them in the biggest light, but I mean, our special teams is fire. I love our special teams. I love Tommy Townsend. Harrison Butker is arguably, I mean, not arguably, top 2 in the entire league as a kicker. But he's battling Justin Tucker for that number 1 kicker in the entire league. I mean, the guy's freaking money. But yeah, Tommy Townsend, we lost him to the Texans, so that's cool. And then I think that's it. I got my little notes here right now, but yeah. Oh, also, last thing I'll just say too, we released MVS, which To be honest, I'm not tripping over. I mean, look, I'll say this about MVS. I was very critical of him throughout the season. Look, he made the plays when he had to. He did. In the playoffs when it mattered, he made the plays that he needed to. Getting that first down when we were milking the clock against the Ravens, Mahomes literally had to throw it perfectly in the breadbasket for him to catch it, but he caught it. And then he caught that touchdown in the Super Bowl when we got that kickoff or punt recovery when it was muffled by the Niners, and we were able to capitalize on that and get back in the game. So he made plays, and even with Buffalo, he had 2 huge catches in that Buffalo game in the playoffs. So made the plays when he had to, but I'm not tripping that we released him. I'm not, and yeah. So obviously the big signing. Speaking of wide receivers, though, Marquise Brown. Let's freaking go, man! I am so happy about that signing. I mean, the guy, he was great with the Ravens. They let him go. He went to Cardinals, and the Cardinals, he can only do so much with that team. I mean, look, they're turning things around. Kyler Murray's a good player and everything, but he's think red and gold. Think red and gold, Marquise, because you're going to be getting a lot of balls, a lot of targets, a lot of yards and tutties, because that's what we do at the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you very much. Super happy about that contract. So yeah, I think we've done well so far. I know we let go of a few other players as well who also got contracts. I think Nick Allegretti, we lost him in free agency. He signed a contract. So again, we kept the guys that we needed to, but with the nature of the business, when you're having so much success and you're developing players that are some of the best players in their respective positions, you're not going to be able to pay them the money that they want. And at the end of the day, I think Snead is a perfect example. We did right by him. We traded him to the Titans, and he signed a 4-year deal, $76.4 million, 55 guaranteed with a $20 million signing bonus. So I don't think he's complaining. He left the Chiefs as a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and he's got money to pay his family for generations to come. So I think that was the best case scenario for Snead. Obviously, he wasn't going to be able to make that kind of money in KC, just given the fact that we had to prioritize our money in other positions. Which again, Chris Jones, I'm so happy for him. I'm glad he got that contract because, I mean, I started off the podcast, the season, pay Chris Jones, and we were finally able to do that, and so I'm really happy about that. So yeah, that's really all I got to say about the Chiefs for right now. I'm happy with where we're at. We got the draft here in 2 days. I'm super excited about that. Xavier Worthy's been thrown around there from Texas as a wide receiver that we've been looking to get. So that would be cool. I'm interested to see if we maybe go for another position like a tackle. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. But yeah, I think either wide receiver or tackle, kind of try to beef up that O-line a little bit. Obviously, we got Trey Smith, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey. We got guys like that. And then we got Jawan Taylor, Donovan Smith. We haven't re-signed him yet. I think he's still a free agent. So maybe we need to get someone on that right tackle position. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think it'll be a good draft. We always find diamonds in the rough diamonds in the rough, sorry, in the 5th and 6th rounds. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm excited. So Chiefs are in a good spot right now, and I don't really see anyone who's going to kick us off the mountaintop. I mean, obviously, I know teams have made moves and stuff like that. I'm not going to really go over that in this particular video. I'll go over that in a few videos to come, just of where the NFL landscape is and where I see teams sitting and things of that nature for this upcoming season. But I want to pivot a little bit, just really quickly. Oh, actually, before I do that, Rashee Rice. For those of you who may not know or didn't know what I was alluding to earlier when I said he was stupid, but also super lucky. he was involved in a multi-vehicle car accident that resulted in nobody getting severely hurt. No one died, um, but a few minor injuries here and there. Um, but what was bad about it, he was racing someone. He was in like a Lambo or something like that. Um, Two cars lost control, caused a multi-car wreck. They fled the scene. Like as soon as they saw stuff went down, they're like, "Oh shoot!" and they dipped. And apparently, I don't know the exact records of this, but apparently some firearms were on them at the time as well. Were they legal or not? I don't know. But it is Texas, and you have open carry, so I don't know. But nevertheless, it was a bad situation. It was really stupid of Rashee. Um, Again, we all know what happened with Henry Ruggs. Um, it was going 120, 130 miles an hour, something crazy like that. Ran right into this poor innocent woman who had her dog in her car with her. Um, she ended up dying because the wreck was so, like, the impact was so intense. Her car caught on fire as well. Um, and she ended up dying in her car, burning alive. Like her and her dog, they died. And he got sentenced to prison. Um, and so you see examples. You see it, right? Yet you still do dumb shit. I'm sorry. Like, pardon my language, but it's look, I've never been in a position where I've had millions of dollars at my disposal. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But I'd like to think that even if I were in a situation like that, I would be more inclined not to screw it up, you know? So to each their own. But Rashee's got to be better. He's in a prime position right now. He won the Super Bowl in his first year in the NFL as a rookie and became the number one receiver for the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are, some may say a dynasty already, some may say on the cusp of it. We'll leave that conversation for another day. Um, he's on trajectory to make some top money in a few seasons. If he plays his cards right, he keeps playing well, behaves off the field, you know. Um, and this was a setback. It really was. I mean, he's going to get suspended for a few games. How many? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 3 to 4 games, and rightfully so. He's freaking lucky that no one got severely hurt or even died. Because if that were the case, I mean, he can kiss his career goodbye. Genuinely. I mean, we've seen it. So I just hope he's, you know, I think it's important who you keep around. Your company is very important. I've heard this a lot from guys like Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay. Um, you know, it's important who you have surrounding you, your company, your crew. That's important because if you got the wrong guys around you, that's going to influence your actions. And so he's got to reevaluate, Rashee does, what kind of company he's keeping around him. Because if he's keeping around a bunch of knuckleheads that don't know what the hell to do with all this money and are bad influences for him, then he's got to dump them. He's got to get some new friends. Got to get a better support system because that's just not right. It's not. And so I'm hoping that he learns from this. He's lucky. He's super lucky, and I'd like to think he realizes that and acknowledges that because man, that could have been a whole lot worse. It really could. So, anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Lastly, here with this final part, at least for the podcast for today, about the blog that I wrote about the Lakers losing to Denver. Man, so I want to talk a little bit more um, in the next few months just about the NBA. I know I haven't really touched on the NBA, at least for the regular season, but I follow it, and especially with the playoffs, there's a lot more to talk about, in my opinion. So I'll leave it here with just kind of what I talked about with that Nuggets and Laker game. With about, you know, 10 minutes left in the third quarter, Lakers were up by 20, 68-48. at one point. And I was under the impression the game was over. But you know what? Silly me, right? Because um, a couple things that you got to remember here. Before this game, now obviously they've lost 10 straight games to the Denver Nuggets. They had lost 9 straight games to the Denver Nuggets. Like 6 or 7 of those 9 games were by double-digit points. So you got that going on, right? They were already down 1 game. They had already lost the first game, which they had a lead in. Then they choked it. No, not like this. Not like this. But again, you have a 20-point lead. D'Lo having a hell of a game. He had 7 3-pointers made. AD at one point was 14 of 15 from the field. Are you kidding me? That's unheard of. He finished, I think, 15 of 19 or something like that. LeBron, was kind of facilitating a little bit, just feeling everything out. And, Austin Reeves contributed here and there. And then all of a sudden, flip of a switch, like it was planned. Denver starts chipping away at that lead. Chip, 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 bit by bit. Next thing you know, going into the fourth quarter, Denver's only down by 10. And you know what? Even with that happening, I thought, silly me, again, that the Lakers were going to be able to pull this out because there were times that it could have gone from a 10-point lead to single digits. Jamal Murray did not have it going. Finished 9 of 24. But man, when you need him to get a bucket, that boy is bad. He really is. Jamal Murray's a dog, man. He can get buckets. And scored the last 4 points for Denver. And then obviously, the buzzer beater to win 101-99. But the real game changer, too, was Aaron Gordon guarding Anthony Davis. I think he had, after Aaron Gordon went on him, he had like 2 points the rest of the game. Aaron Gordon totally shut him down because AD was getting his against Jokic. He really was. But then Michael Malone made that switch, and then all of a sudden, game changed. But LeBron, down the stretch, had a hell of a game. At one point, they were coming back, and then it was like 83-81. Lakers had a 2-point lead. The Nuggets brought it down to 2 points. Boom, 3-pointer, LeBron. 86-81. Boom, another 3-pointer. 89-81. LeBron went on a 6-0 run by himself. And I was like, oh man, this has to be game, right? Wrong. With about, I'm talking literally like how I wrote my blog. It's kind of funny. But it was like 5-something left in the game. And then from that point on, Denver went on a 20-10 run to finish out the game. So the talk after the fact, it went down to, again, and everyone was talking about that LeBron miss. He missed a wide open 3 with like 13 seconds left in the game. And they would have gone up 102-99. And who knows what happens. It was a bad shot. I wish he waited for another shot. But again, LeBron was the reason why they were in that position to begin with. He was keeping him in that game. So it's not on LeBron. It was a bad shot selection. But, I also guess because he had made a few threes before that, he thought he was going to drain it. But you want to milk the clock too, right? I think if they milked the clock, it was like a 6-7 second differential between the game clock and the play clock. So you got to keep that in mind. Obviously, I wasn't in the moment, right? So it's easier said than done. But typically, that's what you want to do. So anyways, we all know what happens next. Jamal Murray goes down. Boom, jumper in 80's face. And that was game. So the talk afterwards was that the refs messed up. That was kind of the consensus of the Lakers' mindset. I know LeBron was talking about how he didn't know what was going on with the replay center and blah, blah, blah. Look, man, look, he also took accountability for other stuff, but the fact that he pointed that out and then he was talking about how, I saw what happened with Philly and New York, same thing. which I personally didn't think was a foul on Tyrese Maxey. That was a hell of a game too. Um, but again, there isn't going to be one call that changes a 20 lead. Obliteration, right? Like they obliterated that 20-point lead Denver did. Yeah, and I think the play specifically he was referencing was against Michael Porter Jr. So what had happened was it was like, I think it was like 35 seconds left in the third quarter, and D'Lo's got the ball. He's driving to get a layup, and Michael Porter hits him in the face. But so the foul was called there, defensive foul on Michael Jr. Porter, and referencing Charles Barkley there. And it was reversed because it had been ruled that by the time the foul was committed, when contact was made, D'Lo had lost possession of the ball already. So it wasn't a foul, and then Denver was able to get the ball. So that's what LeBron was referencing, I'm pretty sure. And there, I also saw there was another play where he thought he was fouled. I think he had made it 99-97 at that point. He got a layup, he made it, but he thought it should have been an and one. I saw him like in his arm complaining, blah blah blah. So look, that wasn't the reason why they lost. They lost because Denver just straight up dogged them in the last quarter. Lakers couldn't finish, and now here we are, lost 10 straight games to the Nuggets, and they're going back to LA to try to cover home court, defend home court. Look, I mean, it's obviously a do or die situation. If they lose game 3, game's over. Series is over. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. And they know that. They definitely know that. I mean, the Lakers need to defend home court. They need to win these next 2 games. Because if not, that's GG's. It really is, because Denver's just too good. They really are. I thought the Lakers were going to win this series. And even if they lost the first 2 games, I wasn't tripping. But the fact that they lost the way that they did in game 2, just mentally, that's tough. That's really tough. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in game 3. I mean, LeBron has tried every which way, to kind of approach games differently, right? Come right out of the gate, guns a-blazing, shooting from everywhere, putting up points left and right, but then runs out of gas towards the end of the game. Game 2, kind of, feels the game out, and then, conserves energy till the end of the game, then goes crazy. Both games resulted in a loss. And again, guys like Hachimura, he had like 2 points. The starting guy had like 2 points. He played awful. He didn't really get much from the bench. Gabe Vincent, Spencer Dinwiddie, guys like they did nothing. They were just out there doing cardio, right? So they need to get more production from guys like that to win these games, because like D'Lo did his part, AD did his part, LeBron did his part. The other guys got to step up. And I think that's the reality of the situation. Now, on the flip side, Jamal Murray went 9 of 24, finished with 20 points, but, that's not a typical Jamal Murray night. So imagine when he's got it going. Yeah, I mean, that's not even a game at that point, let's be honest. And Jokic, for the most part, was relatively suppressed for his standards, right? Caldwell Pope didn't really have a great game. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of nuances to this, right? But at the end of the day, Lakers should have won that game 100%, and they blew it. So, yeah, but I'm definitely going to be following some other games, and I know the Celtics play tonight. I mean, I'm rooting for them in the East. I want them to go all the way. And so the other teams going on. I mean, I think it would be crazy to see the New York Knicks at least get to the conference finals. I think that'd be super dope. I'm not a Knicks fan, but they've sucked for so long, and you kind of feel for a team that hasn't had success in a long time. Finally seeing them do well. It's like Detroit. It's like with the Lions from last season, getting all the way to the NFC Championship game. Like, even though I lost to them, or I'm on the team. Even though the Chiefs lost to them week 1, and then they were talking all that shit and blah blah blah. I mean, I wasn't tripping. I was happy that they were having the success that they were. It's kind of the same here with the Knicks. So I hope they do well. But anyways, That's it for today, everyone. Thank you all for listening. It's good to be back. And yeah, I'll be back up to the weekly uploads again. I also post them on my website. I have a section for podcasts. I also have a section for blogs. I want to be doing the blogs at a higher clip than I will the podcasts. But I'm going to get back to the regular weekly updates. Just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff I want to cover, and yeah, just I'm excited to be back. Feel rejuvenated after that 2 month break. And yeah, so I hope you all enjoy, and I will see you all next time. Peace.